Come on, let's shag ass.
Okay, so next part is all of these baseboards are actually PVC plastic. I would not recommend installing wood baseboards in any of your grow rooms because no matter what you do, no matter how much sealing and caulking and all silicone, whatever the fuck you use, you're going to get water issues along there over time because the IPM spray is going to come down the walls and kind of settle in there. And everything else that you do, you know, the drains here and all that, but any watering, anything that happens, those are the first areas that you're going to have rot happen. So they're PVC plastic, that way they'll never rot, no matter what. Behind them is that waterproofing membrane that goes underneath the epoxy floor and goes behind all of the primer and paint on the walls. So it's sealed up 100% behind them. But what I've done underneath this is put a waterproofing kind of, it's not silicone, but I think it's an elastomeric product. So there's a waterproofing bead underneath on the bottom and on the top before they were put in. Then they're kind of nailed to the baseboard. I let that dry, put over primer and paint over it. And then another, you can kind of see in the corner here, if I get, see, it's not quite sealed up right there, as far as how it looks on the outside. But it actually is sealed. So I'm just gonna take and run a little bit of bead of caulk in that corner and then put some paint over it just to aesthetically make it look better. But it actually is all 100% sealed. And let me show you a spot where it looks a little better here. Like this here. See, that's got a nice seal and that's got the nice caulking on top of it. And you can see some places where this isn't a home, so I didn't try to make it look as pretty as I could. Here I want to show you guys the outside doors, and something that I've always had a bit of an issue with on my grow rooms is sealing the doors and making sure that not just that you're not getting any airflow coming through these cracks, but that also you're keeping any light from leaking through into the room. So part of this molding thing here is just in case there's any kind of light these are sticking out a little bit and they're going to kind of help kind of stop that in this area. But I already know that the sealant I've got in here is working, and I want to show you up top how I've got this double layer system, and you can see this piece is missing here. It was causing me some issues. I've got to get some thinner product put in here because there's such a small gap between this part of the door that it doesn't allow the door to really close easily. But up here you see there's two layers. You see that white foam layer and the black foam layer. So this is compacting stuff. You see if I push it down with my thumb here, it gets really thin. It goes down to I think 1/4 of an inch or an 8-inch thick total, and then it will kind of memory foam bounce its ass back. This white layer is meant to be on the inside. As you can see if I close that there, that white layer is kind of acting like a secondary wall to block out light, block out air. That black layer on top is what is actually going to keep the airflow out. You can see I've got it down this, I've got it run along the bottom as well. The only thing that I don't have run is the black strip right here on this line. You can see the white foam here. And I don't think I have a double layer of the white foam on the bottom. But the whole reason I'm showing you guys that I've done those double layers is because that's something that I've run into so many times over the years. You'll go and buy some kind of door jamb, sealer like these are at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, and you'll come and put it in and it won't fucking work. It'll be way too thick, and there's all these issues that you'll run into. So do be careful of that. I do highly recommend this compacting stuff, and you'll kind of see on the package, this black stuff here, you'll see on the packages that'll say it squishes down to 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch and then covers a gap all the way up to 1/2 inch. And that's the kind of product you want when your door is already got a really, really, really fine gap in between the door and the jamb there. And then that white foam second layer is what you want if when you do get it sealed up and you pull the door closed. Let me see if I can get this actually pulled all the way closed here one-handed. Yeah, it's not fucking easy with one hand. Let me stop and we'll start over. Okay, so I got it pulled kind of close, and you can see now why I don't have that strip over there, because even with the foam on now, it's quite fucking difficult to close all the way. At some point I'm gonna put a little handle here so I can close it more. If I'm doing a breeding project and pollen in here, I don't really want, you know, a bunch of pollen getting out while I've got the door cracked. But I'll show you by turning this light off. I'm panning around the door now. You see that right there? That's that little dot of light is because I don't have that black seam in, and you see there's more light coming through that crack. Now, my phone's picking that up, but my naked eye, I mean, it's like you can barely see that in here right now. And my plants aren't gonna really be affected by that or notice that, but I am going to go in and put that black foam layer in before I get growing in here and go into flower. And so that's one of the things when you're done sealing up your door, you wanna come into the room, turn the lights off with it pitch black in here, and see if you can see any light leaks coming in through your door, your vents, your drain, anywhere where there could possibly be light coming into the room. And once you don't have any light leaking in, you know at the same time you also aren't gonna have any air leaking in. So it's really important to get those things down, especially if you're breeding or you're growing in a place where your neighbors have breeding projects going on. I mean, the last thing you want is to be making seeds in a room that you're not trying to make seeds in. Okay, so up here we have the ventilation and intake. That is a HEPA filter. And what that means is not even pollen can get into my room. That'll trap everything out. It's really easy for me to take that off. Right there's a little clamp. I can put a new one on every year to 2 years if I want. The HEPA filters, these are cleanable. I can spray them and clean them out. And on the outside, there's a hood that actually only allows air to go out. It's got a little flap there like a baffle. But what I'm going to do is prop that flap open so that it's always open. And then I'm gonna put a little piece of metal screen on the outside so that birds and bugs and shit don't get into that little filter there and kind of clog it up over time. So that is the cold air intake, and it's up here near the ceiling. If you guys know, you know hot air rises, cold air drops. So I would have preferred to put that, you know, kind of really close up to the top, but you saw in the outside video, there's that vent there and it fucks everything up. So it went here because that was the most appropriate place to put it. Now what's gonna happen is, this top of this room is gonna fill with air, hot air, warmer air. I'm going to put a hurricane fan right here in this area. And what that's going to do is just all the time be blowing the wind around, the air around up in here and circulating the warmer air in this ceiling, and it's gonna come back down towards the ground and stabilize all of the air in here so all the hot air doesn't just rise up to the top and all the cool air is down at the bottom. This is going to be the exhaust intake. It's an 8-inch, and there's going to be ducting work going up, and I'm going to put the exhaust all the way up in this area. I've got, you'll see later, I've got some projection screen holders that are really great for this. I'm gonna stick them on the 2x4s there, and it'll help hold the filter canister in the actual exhaust fan itself. And then 8-inch ducting is gonna come down to go into here. And again, this is the same type of hood on the outside. It's a baffle that only allows the air to go out. I'm gonna also put a screen on that just so, you know, while it's open and the exhaust is on, I don't get birds or fucking anything coming in there. Haven't had that happen before in any of my grow rooms, but yeah, you never know. So trying to cover up that mistake before we encounter it. Okay, and what I'm gonna do next is I'm going to show you guys the installation of my air circulation fans. There's gonna be one near this outlet, one near that outlet. And like I mentioned before, I'm also going to put a larger Hurricane fan. That's a brand name. The Hurricane fan's gonna be put a little bit higher up. I've got some headers that run along here, some 2x4s that are thick, and they're about the 80-inch height. And I can put it there and kind of tilt it up, the fan, and what it'll do is it'll circulate all this air up in the ceiling, pushing it all like this. It'll kind of be blowing back and forth like that, and it'll push all that hot air, warm air down through this area. And because the exhaust is gonna be up there, that's gonna help kind of cause this loop of air through the grow room like this. And the two fans on the outside are gonna circulate it this way. So I'll get a full kind of 360, three-dimensional circulation of air in here. And you're gonna see one of the interesting tricks is I'm gonna be using towel bars, the things that you use in your bathroom to hang your towels from. This is a trick I came up with a while ago, but it's a really great way for installation of stuff. And keep watching and you'll see why the fuck I'm gonna use towel bars in this room.